Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you're welcome at First Congregational Church. We're glad to be here today, celebrating worship together. Please join me in welcoming Jim Ford, who is our guest pianist today. Nancy is taking some much-needed vacation for the next couple of weeks. Jim is joining us again today, and Cheryl will be here on Sunday, September 19th, along with Joyful Noise. Rally Day will be Sunday, September 19th. Come and enjoy the first comeback of Joyful Noise since the pandemic began 1.5 years ago. As in the past, we will take our picture together. Come out and enjoy this special service, and please remember to wear red. We are once again opening up the floor to joys and concerns. If you have a prayer request or praise that you would like to share with the congregation, please feel free to do so during the appropriate time. Trustees will be meeting on Thursday, September 16th at 7 p.m. And deadlines for the October forecaster is Thursday, September 16th. May the peace of God be with you.
And also with you.
Can now wave to each other. Good morning. Hi. We need the praisers. Please join me in the statement of oneness. We were made in the image of God. Thus, as we grow in faith and mature in spirit, that image shall shine all the more clearly. Like Jesus, we are children of God. Thus, as our birthright, we shall live all our days surrounded by unconditional love. Humanity, the image of God, is beautiful in God's sight, part of a magnificent creation, therefore in God's eyes. The scriptures declare that the entire kingdom of God is within us. Also, we live our lives immersed in divinity. We gather to celebrate that sacred and wondrous truth. Many hurtful and unjust things happen in our world, motivated by hatred or fear. Yet also there is love in our hearts. Let us declare that love, acknowledge it is of God, and promise to grow in love day by day. Amen.
Go ahead, play.
There's a presence moving softly in the quiet of my being, calling softly all the time. One heart, one mind, one life, united and divine. One heart, one mind, one life, united and divine. Now let us read our responsive call to worship. The heavens are telling the glory of God, and the firmament proclaims his handiwork.
Day to day calls for speech, and night to night declares knowledge.
There is no speech, nor are there words. Their voice is not heard.
Yet their voice goes out to all the earth, and their words to the end of the world.
In the heavens he has set a tent for the sun, which comes out like a bridegroom from his wedding canopy, and like a strong man runs its course with joy.
His rising is from the end of the heavens, and his circuit to the end of them. Nothing is hidden from his feet.
The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The decrees of the Lord are sure, making wise the simple.
The precepts of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is clear, enlightening the eyes.
The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The ordinances of the Lord are true and righteous altogether.
More to be desired are the gold, even much fine gold, sweeter also than honey, and drippings of the honeycomb.
Moreover, by them is your servant warned. In keeping them there is great reward.
But who can detect the errors? Hear me from hidden faults.
Then I shall be blameless and innocent of great transgression.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer.
Our first hymn today is "Oh, Be Joyful in Our God." And please stand if you're able to.
praises sing. See God's wisdom shining grace, by whose might the heavens ring, in whose love our lives we trace, by whom we are made. So we trust God unafraid, standing fast to the last. By God's hand our souls are saved. Enter now the holy gate. Let our burdened hearts be still. In the sacred silence wait, as we seek to know God's will. Let our lives as friends, how abundant thankfulness, all our days, all our ways, shall our Maker's love confess. For the God of all is kind, loving us so constantly, in whose will our peace we find, in whose service liberty. Yes, God's law is sure, in that light we walk secure, evermore as of yore shall God's changeless truth endure.
Please join me in the unison prayer. Dear God, you have told us in James 1:26 that those who claim to be religious but don't control their tongue are fooling themselves, and their religion is worthless. Forgive us when we are quick to talk and slow to listen. Teach us to speak kindly and softly, to build each other up. Remind us to try to consider others as better than ourselves, and help us to learn from them in humility and gratitude. Encourage us to reach out to the homeless and loveless in their struggle. Show us how to share your blessings with others. Through Jesus Christ, who shared his blessings with us. Amen. Okay. Please join me in the statement of oneness. No? Thank you. Okay, the first scripture is James chapter 3, verses 1 through 12. Don't be in any rush to become a teacher, my friends. Teaching is highly responsible work. Teachers are held to the strictest standards, and none of us is perfectly qualified. We get it wrong nearly every time we open our mouths. And if you could find someone whose speech was perfectly true, you'd have a perfect person and perfect control of life. A bit in the mouth of a horse controls the whole horse. A small rudder on a huge ship in the hands of a skilled captain sets a course in the face of the strongest winds. A word out of your mouth may seem of no account, but it can accomplish nearly anything or destroy it. It only takes a spark, remember, to set off a forest fire. A careless or wrongly placed word out of your mouth can do that. By our speech, we can ruin the world, turn harmony to chaos, throw mud on a reputation. and send the whole world up in smoke and go up in smoke with it, smoke right from the pit of hell. This is scary. You can tame a tiger, but you can't tame a tongue. It's never been done. The tongue runs wild, a wanton killer. With our tongues, we bless God, our Father, with the same tongues that we curse the very men and women he made in his image. Curses and blessings out of the same mouth. My friends, this can't go on. A spring doesn't gush fresh water one day and brackish the next, does it? Apple trees don't bear strawberries, do they? Raspberry bushes don't bear apples, do they? You are not going to dip into a polluted mud hole and get a cup of clear, cool water, are you? The Word of God.
Thanks be to God.
Okay.
The second reading is from Mark's Gospel, chapter 8. Jesus and his disciples headed out for the village around Caesarea Philippi. As they walked, he asked, "Who do the people say I am?" Some say, "John the Baptizer." They said, others said, "Elijah." Still others said, "One of the prophets." He then asked, "And you, what are you saying about me? Who am I?" Peter gave the answer, "You are the Christ, the Messiah." Jesus warned them to keep it quiet, not to breathe a word of it to anyone. He then began explaining things to them. It is necessary that the Son of Man proceed to an ordeal of suffering, be tried and found guilty by the elders, high priests, and religious scholars, be killed, and after 3 days rise up alive. He said this simply and clearly so they couldn't miss it. But Peter grabbed him in protest. Turning and seeing his disciples wavering, wondering what to believe, Jesus confronted Peter. "Peter, get out of my way. Satan, get lost. You have no idea how God works." Calling the crowd to join his disciples, he said, "Anyone who intends to come with me has to let me lead. You are not in the driver's seat. I am. Don't run from suffering. Embrace it. Follow me and I will show you how. Self-help is no help at all. Self-sacrifice is the way, my way, to saving yourself, your true self. What good would it do to get everything you want and lose you, the real you? What could you ever trade your soul for? If any of you are embarrassed over me and the way I am leading you when you get around your fickle and unfocused friends, know that you will be an even greater embarrassment to the Son of Man when he arrives in all the splendor of God, his Father, with an army of the holy angels, the Word of God. Today's title is Taming a Tongue. Is there anyone here whose speech is perfectly true and is in perfect control of their speech? If you raise your hand, then you have permission not to listen to the sermon. I'm guilty of that, and so I usually prepare the sermon for myself first, because the tongue is a very powerful instrument. It can accomplish a lot. It can also destroy a lot. And when we see how the tongue can hurt people's feeling, it can also bring harmony to chaos, and it can throw mud on reputation. It can put the whole world up in smoke. So James tells us how to control the tongue. But he also says that it's not easy, because you can tame a tiger, but you cannot tame the tongue. That's true, because if you try to tame your own tongue, it is not possible. Only by the grace of God, not on your own strength, that you can really, by the power of the Holy Spirit, tame the tongue. Why is it so important to tame the tongue? Because the tongue is like the bit in the mouth of a horse. The tongue is like a small rudder on the gigantic ship. It can control the directions of the vessel. So our tongue is given to us so that we can use words that will help others. And you know, the tongue, they said, is like a spark. It can start a forest fire, and the tongue, if careless or wrongfully placed, and if it is used wrongfully, can hurt a lot of people. Sometimes people struggle with what to say. I had people say to me, "Pastor, I don't want to go to the hospital to visit somebody." I say, "Why?" He said, "Because I don't know what to say." I say, "That's true, but if you take time to go, if you bring some flowers, your very presence says it all. You don't have to say anything." When I was in Dallas, Texas, I took training to be a hospital chaplain. And one of the requirements was to learn how to listen. And we had to go through what they call clinical pastoral education. And part of the education is to have a variety of experiences. So many times when we go and visit, then we have to report verbatim, word for word, if possible, our conversations with the patient in the hospital. Then when we come back, all the directors and all the students will evaluate and say, "Why did you say that? What was the patient trying to ask you? Did you hear?" And part of the training is that every time before you speak, when somebody says something to you, you have to do what they call reflective listening.
So before you want to say something, a lot of times when we're in a meeting, we're so eager to say something that we don't listen. So the exercise was to say, when someone is talking, you listen. And if it's your turn to speak, you must summarize what you hear. So for example, if somebody says something in a meeting, before you talk, you should say, I hear you say this, 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 this. And that person should say, no, I didn't say that. Or then you say, okay, sorry, do it again. And if you can do that long enough, you will cultivate the skills to use your tongue carefully. Another skills we learn is from the Quaker meeting. Has anybody been to a Quaker meeting? Yes. Now you know when you go to a Quaker meeting, what do you experience? Silence. And the rule is speak only if you can improve the silence. Now isn't that kind of challenging? You go and you sit and you listen. You listen to God, you listen to your heartbeat, you listen to the whispering of your mind, the Holy Spirit. I don't know if you've experienced that. Your mind and the Holy Spirit is constantly talking to you. But at the same time, who else is talking to you? The devil does that too. You know, it's like in and out, in and out. So unless you can improve the silence, you don't speak in a Quaker meeting. If you think your speech will improve it, then you speak. Many times when I first came to the United States for, graduate studies, I had a hard time because I was brought up in Malaysia under the British system. And under the British system, you listen to the teacher, you take notes. You don't talk unless the teacher asks you. And if you raise your hand, unless the teacher acknowledges you, you don't talk. You listen, you take notes, and then when it comes to an exam, you spill it out. When I came here for graduate school, because I was brought up under that kind of culture, I didn't speak at all. And I didn't get a very good grade because 35% of the grade was what? Participation. Nobody told me that. So I said, wow, I got to speak up. But it takes a while to speak up. And I don't know if some of you noticed when I first came here in the meetings, I think one of them said, how come you never talk? If you are brought up under the culture where you are instilled the feeling that unless you can improve the silence, and the Chinese saying, the cultural conditioning was, one who knows does not talk. One who talks may not know. So there's always a constant struggle that a lot of people love to talk. And sometimes people use that freedom of speech. One of the things about America is we have freedom of speech. But if you are in Singapore, you are limited because freedom of speech does not mean that you can slander somebody. Even in America, I think freedom of speech doesn't mean that you can shout in a crowded theater. What's the word? Fire! That's right. You don't have that freedom of speech to create panic. So there are certain limitations. But unfortunately, I learned that in the Senate and in Congress, they have this word filibuster. Have you heard of that? And people love to talk. You know what was the longest speech in the Senate against Civil Rights Act? They're trying to pass the Civil Rights Act. And one senator spoke for 24 hours and 18 minutes. You go look it up. 1957. Can you imagine talking for 24 hours and 18 minutes? simply because they want to delay or they want to make sure that they could not stop the debate or keep on debating. Why can't we get along? The tongue is very powerful. I said this many times. Some people, have good intention. If you have a chance to stand, at the viewing, and then with the family, you will notice that a lot of people say the things that you cringe to the family out of good intention. Sometimes it's better not to say a word. Sometimes a hug, a handshake. Somebody is crying. You don't have to say anything. All you need to do is hand them a tissue or give them a hug. That says it all. It's like going to visit. So many times when we were learning how to go through all these experiences, how do you tame a tongue and why is it so important? Because James tells us what a tongue can do. A tongue can curse. A tongue can also bless. And we have to be able to have that kind of control. A tongue can inspire. We still remember the speech that Martin Luther King made, right? I have what? A dream. And that dream is still going on. Yesterday I was at Triangle, and this is the first time that I was asked to make a speech. The Triangle Fire Department, they have a 9/11 memorial celebration or remembrance every year. And because of my connection with Barbara Thompson, I did the funeral for the sister, and one of the fire department volunteer was at the funeral, and she called Barbara to get my number and asked me to be the speaker. I was in New Jersey when I got the message, but I was there. And most of you heard the names that were read. 2,996 plus, and everyone has a story to tell. If you are connected in any way, this is one event, 9/11, that if I ask you, where were you? I'm sure you remember. I was on the cruise. First time my wife took me on the cruise, I thought, wow, this is wonderful. We were in front of Notre Dame, and we were going to cruise back into New York City, Hudson River. We were going to cruise right to see the Statue of Liberty and all that. We're looking forward to it. While we were standing in front of Notre Dame, 9/11 happened. Everything changed. The mood of the cruise. They even gave us free phone call back to the United States to ask about our family members, if anybody were involved. And we were directed to go to Boston. What would make a person do something like 9/11? I was trying to think that the tongue, I don't know how I could make that connection, but why were these hijackers, how many of them? 19 of them, brainwashed to the point that they were trained to be a pilot and they will fly the plane into a building? The tongue. Either they were angry or they were indoctrinated or they were brainwashed by their group, whatever terrorist group they belong to. Anger can make people do things that they will regret. I said this last time, and I don't know if I said this again. Anger, if you see tennis, US Open, this is the first time we have two teenagers, one 18-year-old, another 19-year-old, went all the way, qualifiers. And Emma was so gracious. Layla, and I have not seen them angry while playing. But with the men, I have seen anger. Have you seen a tennis player when they hit a bad shot? What did they do when they were angry? They take the tennis racket and they hit and they hit and they break the whole racket. If I am the racket, I would say, what did I do wrong? Why did you smash me? And they know the rules, but anger got them to do things. Were the hijackers angry? What did the people at the World Trade Center do to deserve to be destroyed? Just because some terrorist group were angry, or people used the tongue to inspire them or encourage them to do something like that? The tongue, speech, can do a lot of things. When I think of 9/11, I also think about the grace of God. Have you heard of the saying, "There but by the grace of God go I"? 2 weeks before 9/11, I took my youth group from Sarah Jane Johnson Memorial Church to visit World Trade Center. We were so happy, we took the elevator all the way to the top and we could see the Twin Towers, and I could visualize. Remember there was a French trapeze, who had a cable stretched across the two and then walk. I was like, how could he do that? I mean, you look down, it was tremendous. And I say, if 9/11 happened 2 weeks before, you think I'll be here? You think my youth group would be here? So we never know what's going to happen to us. There, but by the grace of God, go I. How do we tame our tongue? James used 3 sentences. Slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to anger. Because if you are angry, you will say things that you will regret later. I've used many illustrations where when my children make me angry, I have to take a deep breath. So if we want to tame our tongue, we need to learn to be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to anger. I think 3 weeks ago, I talked about use your head. And my granddaughter was here. It was the day when we had the academic award. And lately she has been quoting my sermons. Every time I do something, she said, "Grandpa, use your head." Use your head. You want to control your tongue? Use your head. So when you use your head, what do? You think. So I thought, well, think, T-H-I-N-K. Whenever you speak, T stands for what? Is it true? Is it true? Whenever you speak, are you telling the truth? Or are you, we know for the past 4 years before this president, there's a lot of lies. And people start to believe it. Fake news, we don't know what to believe. So the first test is it true? Am I telling the truth? And telling the truth is not easy because our mind because of greed. There was a story told about a woman who went to a farmer to buy chicken, and this farmer had only one chicken left in the freezer, and took it out, weighed, and it says 2 pounds. And the woman said, I need a bigger one. So the farmer went back to the freezer and took out the same chicken and weighed, and he says 3 pounds. And the woman said, great. He said, I'll take 2. He said, oh my God. He was caught. I don't care how much you lie, sooner or later you will be caught. And so whenever you want to speak ourselves is true, think, use your head. 2H. Before you speak, ask yourself, is it helpful? Is it helping somebody? If it is not helpful, some people try to be helpful and they are not helpful. I know people, and I always say, if you try to be helpful and you're not helpful, don't. And they still insist on helping you and say, I'm just trying to be helpful. Don't. The third thing, I. Whatever you speak, you're going to tame your tongue, ask yourself, is it inspiring? Are you inspiring somebody to be better? And is it necessary? If it is not necessary, it's better to be silent. It's better to respond with a smile. When you smile and not open your mouth and use your tongue, nobody will know. But if you speak, then you prove it. Whatever you say, you have. So if it is not necessary, and last word is K. T-H-I-N-K. Is it kind? You speak words of kindness or speak words of cruelty. So think of the tongue as a spark that can start a fire or that can also be put to good use. We will now sing our next hymn, It Only Takes a Spark. Only takes a spark to get a fire going. Soon all those around can warm up in its glowing. That's how it is with God's love. Once you have experienced it, you spread His love to everyone you want to pass it on. What a wonderful thing when all the trees are budding. The birds begin to sing, the flowers start their blooming. That's how it is with God's love. Once you have experienced it, you want to sing. It's fresh like spring. You want to pass it on. I wish for you, my friend, this happiness that I have found. You can depend on me. It matters not where you're bound. I'll shout it from the mountain top. Amen. I want the world to know the Lord of love has come to me. I want to pass it on. Learned that from campfire, summer camp. So there's a lot of excitement in that kind of song. For our joys and concern, we want to remember all those who have suffered 9/11. You have experienced their grief, and let's remember that in our prayer. We also want to invite anyone who has additional prayer concern, if you want to raise your hand or stand up. Yes, Bob, and then Tony.
Prayers for a woman by the name of Karen who is on her final days of life.
Thank you. Tony.
My friend Betty is on the list, but she's having more surgery on the 27th, and her neighbor just had her 12-year-old dog die.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Cheryl Kent's mother, who was either 99 or 100.
102.
Huh?
102.
Oh, excuse me, she was 102. Her first name was Eulalie, and she passed away on Thursday.
Yes.
So Cheryl is celebrating her life and keeping the grief. She said, the world's loss was heaven's gain. I also like continuing prayers for my friends Harris and Deborah, whose 21-year-old son was killed 2 weeks ago. He was on a motorcycle and a car hit him. And the other thing is, it's been the best and worst times for me. I adopted a kitten, that's the best times. I had a Civil War age oak tree. 3 weeks ago, the back of it fell. Wednesday night, the front of it fell. This time it hit my house. I'm hoping it doesn't rain too hard because there's no tarps up there yet. But there have been a lot of blessings. There have been a million prayers, a million suggestions, gifts, countless gifts. And so I still feel blessed, and I feel very bad for my tree. Even though it hit my house, I love that tree. And so I have a lot of grief for that, but a lot of gratitude for all the blessings in my life.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Now that I'm also working besides the school district, I now work in the nursing home. And while my mother was in the nursing home during this pandemic, I was very upset because I often couldn't get to her. They were helping her with the phone and all sorts of things. But now that I'm working in the nursing home, I know what's going on. And last night was very difficult because I work on weekends at night as well as during weekdays at night. And the phones weren't working, and people that came in new into our rehab, for instance, their phone wasn't working, and I had all sorts of families complaining and calling and yelling. And I said we're doing the best we can on our end, and that the phones don't work. And they would say, well, send someone in. And I will tell you, these nurses' aides that are working, some of them are working 2 and 3 shifts because no one else would come in. And it's amazing to me. I mean, I just bless every one of them because you've got 6 people they have to feed, and you've only got, 3 people on a floor of 26 people. It's extremely difficult. So I couldn't get anybody in their room to answer the phone for these people calling long distance, worried about their relatives. But, I want to bless them because even though I know they couldn't do it, and I was taking, all the complaints, that I do know what's going on behind the scenes where before I never did. So I want a lot of blessings for these nurses, aides that are coming in, men and women, doing 2 and 3 shifts when no one else would come in at all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Let us bow our heads and go to God in prayer. Gracious and loving God, you come to us through your Son Jesus Christ to show us how to live a life that will glorify your name. You send your Holy Spirit to us to teach us how to pray, to give us words beyond our own ability. Dear God, you have heard all the concerns, spoken, and also we include the unspoken in our hearts and minds, and all those names on our prayer list. Challenge us that we may reach out and share our love and speak a word of kindness and share a hug to show your unconditional love. We pray all this in the name of Jesus, who taught us to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. What a wonderful change in my life has been wrought since Jesus came into my heart. I have light in my soul for which long I have sought since Jesus came into my heart. Since Jesus came into my heart. Since Jesus came into my heart. Floods of joy from my soul like seas billows roll. Since Jesus came into my heart, I have ceased from my wander going astray. Since Jesus came into my heart, and my sins, which were many, are all washed away. Since Jesus came into my heart. Since Jesus came into my heart. Since Jesus came into my heart. Floods of joy, oh my soul, like the seas billows roll. Since Jesus came into my heart, I shall go that to dwell in the city I know, since Jesus came into my heart. I'm happy, so happy, and onward I go, since Jesus came into my heart. Since Jesus came into my heart. Since Jesus came into my heart. Floods of joy on my soul, like the sea's billows roll. Since Jesus came into my heart. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. May the God of peace go with you always. Amen.